Welcome back to my channel, everybody. I hope you guys have been enjoying the content. If you like today's video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, click on that subscribe button. So in today's video, I have with me all the latest Meraki MT sensors. So I've got the water sensor, the door sensor, and the temperature sensor. And today, guys, I'm going to show you kind of the real deal with these things. I haven't really had a chance to play with them yet. We're going to plug them in. I'm going to show you how to get them registered to the Meraki dashboard, and we're going to test them out. I've got some water. We're going to play around with this water sensor here. I want to test things out like, okay, how little water is actually needed to get this thing to trip? How quick is it? What kind of alerts can I set up? Really want to play with that one. Really curious on how that one works. Do have the temperature sensor like I mentioned, and the door sensor. We'll probably go over those a little bit, but this is going to be the one that we're really going to play with because I think this is the most exciting one that Meraki came out with. So with that, let's get. And before we go in and register these, let's go over them from a physical perspective so you guys know what you're actually going to be getting out of the box. And the first thing that I kind of noticed on these is the size of them. They're all relatively small, especially this door sensor, which I think is good because you're going to be able to put this thing pretty much anywhere and it's not going to interfere with people opening and closing the door. So let's start out over here on my left side. And what I have here, guys, is the temperature and humidity sensor. Take a look at it. Nothing too fancy looking. It's a white rectangle. Got a little light here at the top. This is going to be shut off pretty much all the time to conserve the battery life on it. Cisco, again, gives you 2 AA batteries with this guy here. It's got a little battery door on the back. You pop that open, and you can put your 2 AA batteries in there. Again, Cisco said that those 2 batteries are going to be rated for about 5 years on this. It's got a little button here at the top. You can press that, and that'll actually turn the light on and do a quick check to the gateway to make sure that the connectivity is still there. When this thing boots or when you press the button, it'll show kind of like a rainbow color scheme there and then go to green for a couple seconds. Once it goes to green, then you know it's actually connected to the gateway. If you forget, you're not sure what those things do, inside of the box of each one of these is a little diagram from Meraki. It's probably pretty hard to see on this video, but it is there. And then inside here too, they give you some instructions on how to mount each one of these units. Other things to note on this guy here is the USB-C connection on the bottom. That's so if you want, you can purchase a USB-C cable to wall outlet, and that'll power these things so you don't have to use the batteries or use the batteries and use the USB-C at the bottom there. And that's kind of it from a physical perspective on this guy. Real quick, let's talk about the gateways that this thing can register to. So there's 2 gateways that these can go to. One is going to be the Meraki cameras. So any of the newer Meraki cameras, I've got a 72X right here. These can register to, or the newer Meraki access points. These can also register to via BLE. There is a little bit of a difference. When I was researching this, I did come across some stuff saying that the chipsets inside of the access points for BLE were going to broadcast out a little bit better than what's inside of here. Inside of here is probably more like a client side chipset, so the distance of these things can be away from this is probably going to be a little bit closer than a full-blown access point and what that can do. Also, in terms of load balancing, guys, recommended count is around 8 per device, per gateway. So if I've got a data center closet that I need 20 of these things in there, I probably want 3 cameras inside that data room, or maybe 1 access point and 2 cameras, something like that to kind of load balance these things across. If you take a look at the mounting hardware here, couple different things. I've got a plate. So with the plate here, typically would screw this or attach this to a wall somewhere, and then this clips right onto the back of the plate. If you don't want to screw this in, they give you a magnet. So if this is going on the side of a cabinet or something like that that's metallic, you can just put the magnet between it, stick it right to the side of the cabinet, and you're good to go. If You do want to mount it somewhere but it's not magnetic. There's actually a sticky here on the back. You can peel this tape off, and then you can put it on something else that's not metallic, and it'll still stay on there. If you are screwing this into the wall, Meraki out of the box, which is great. Gives you the screws and gives you drywall anchors even to put these things on. They even give you some two-way tape. So just in case you need to do something a little bit different and you need a two-way tape option, you've got this there as well. So we'll move on now, guys, to the water sensor. And it's actually the same case, or appears to be the same case, as the MT10, the temperature and humidity sensor. The difference with this one is, so it doesn't have the finger thing where I can go in and I can flick the back case off. And that's because if you look at the bottom here, it's actually IPX5 rated. So that way it can get a little wet. You're not going to want to submerge this thing. It can't go, 5 meters under water. But if it gets sprayed on, low pressure, if something splashes onto it, you're going to be okay with this guy here. It's got the same features as far as the light on the top there. It's got the button here to press. Again, press it, and it'll do a quick check to the gateway, make sure that everything is good. It goes green, and you're all set. If you look over on the back, one thing to note here, so it looks like there's a speaker on the back of this thing. Apparently it is a speaker. Again, doing some research, I found out that this actually isn't active yet. It's in feature request stage right now. Was a little bit disappointed on that. Thinking around that is, hey, if I'm putting this thing in a shared area underneath a water cooler or underneath the sink, it'd be nice if this thing started chirping if something was getting spilled. Right now, your only options are either email or SMS, or there are a couple other hooks in there to go to maybe some different applications. But that's kind of it. You're not going to be able to just walk by and, oh, shoot, something's going off. I better take a look in this room. So just be aware that that's there. Hopefully it's coming soon. On the bottom of this guy, same thing, USB-C. It's a 5-volt plug there. Plug it in, and you can power this thing along with the batteries, again, that are inside. And then sticking out the bottom here is for your cable here. And this cable is what actually detects if there's water on the ground. Out of the box, it's going to come with one. It's like a little headphone jack. You plug it in. You can get a second cable, and you can daisy chain these together. You pop off the little end here, and you can plug in a second cable, giving you a little bit of a larger footprint to detect water. We're going to play around with this. I've got water, and we're going to actually see how well this thing detects. Same thing from the mounting plate perspective. You got your mounting plate here, screwed into the wall. Use the magnet, use a two-way tape, whatever you need. Meraki probably gave it to you inside the box there. Over to the door sensor. So here's a door sensor, like I mentioned before, really tiny, a little bit different form factor than the other ones, just a smaller version of it. This only requires one battery on the inside of it. And instead of a button at the top, it has a little tiny pinhole. So if you need to check it for whatever reason, you can press that pinhole and you can do the check that way. This works to detect if you're close to the door by magnetism. So I think you can be up to 2 centimeters away and it'll think the door is closed. And then as soon as that breaks, then it's going to think the door is open. You do need, and I will mention this, you will need to have these on the same plane. So it's not like you can have them one in front, one kind of in back. And that's important because some door frames and the moldings and everything, they're not going to be flush with the door. So if I've got this on the molding, let's say, and this is actually on the door, typically your molding is going to stick out a little bit further. You may need to pack this out with a little bit of tape or something to get this so they are flush with one another. So just make sure that you guys are aware of that when you're doing this, or else it's going to always think that door is open on there. They give you a little wrench, it's a little torque wrench on here to open this thing up, to put the batteries in. And then same thing like the other two. You got your fancy brown cardboard packet with all your screws and two-way tape and everything like that in there. So I think that's pretty much, guys, from a physical perspective. Let's go ahead, let's register one of these things so you guys can see what that looks like. So let's start by registering the temperature and humidity sensor, the MT10. I'm going to show you guys how to do that through the dashboard. Now, you'll probably notice on mine here, I've got this environmental tab here. You guys probably won't have this unless you added one already. It doesn't show up until you actually claim a MT device. So to add a device, go under organization. You can go under inventory over here. And then you're going to want to click on claim. And then, if you've got an order number, pop it in here. If you've got a serial number of the device, pop that in here. And then you're going to go ahead and hit claim. So I'm going to pop this in real quick. Go ahead, click claim, loading. And guys, I did nothing. Like, I literally put the batteries into this sensor, didn't push a button to turn it on, nothing. All I did was, like I said, put the batteries in and claimed it right from here. It's close to that Meraki camera that I showed you guys before. And it looks like it's here. Okay, so I've got it in the network. I've got it on my dashboard. Now let's go over to my environmentals. Or actually, I can add it right here. I can add it to an existing network. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and add it to my Sandwich network. That's where I add everything. And now we're claiming it over to that network. So let's go back to our environmentals, go to overview, and we'll see what this thing looks like. Okay, so we've got one that's showing dormant right now. I'm guessing that's this guy. Has never connected to the Meraki cloud yet. Okay, so it looks like it's still booting up here, and I can see it's still booting because of the colors when I push the button. So I'm going to just give it a couple seconds, and I'll tell you guys about how long this takes. Okay, so that probably took, I want to say, maybe 2 minutes tops from when I hit claim for this thing to start working. And it actually downloaded a firmware version, because you could tell that by the lights on the thing. It started flashing green kind of rapidly. That means it's doing a firmware update. So, when you take these things out of the box, depending on how old they may need a firmware update. That's what's going to happen. So, figure about 2 minutes for the device to come up. But again, I didn't do anything. I plugged the batteries in, and that was it. And now it's showing online here in the system. So if we go over here, click on it, we can see the device up here at the top. Let's go in. You guys can take a look. It's showing 74 degrees, 49% relative humidity. And that's about what we're going to get out of this sensor here. Next, we're going to play around with some profiles. So let's go ahead and set up some alert profiles. So there's common things you probably want, right? If water is detected, send out an alert. If the temperature gets above 85 degrees, send out an alert. So in order to do that, when you're under environmental overview, go ahead and click alert profiles. I've already created a couple here. I created one for if there's a flood, another one if the door sensor is open, but I'm going to go ahead and click new environmental alert, and we'll call this one temp. We're going to add a condition. So if the temperature is above 85 Fahrenheit, to send that out. Now I could do additional conditions. So I could say, hey, if the temperature is above this and there's a flood, then I really want to be alerted. Whatever reason you want, you can play around with these different conditions here. And then you can either get an email alert, or again, you can get an SMS alert. When you're done with that, just click done. Then you've got your different ones here. You can take a look at. Right now, I have got no recipients subscribed. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to go back to our sensors. And I'm going to add an alert profile to this guy here. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the temp one. Hit save. And now that's all set. So when I do get a temperature above 85 degrees, if I had my email address in there, if I had my cell number in there, I'd get a text message or an email on it. And that's it. Like I said, pretty simple to set these things up. So let's go ahead and test our water sensor. First thing I'll tell you guys by playing around with it is that you actually get an alert if this cable does get disconnected for whatever reason. So pretty cool in case someone's walking in the data center, kicks it by accident, it comes apart. You'll get an alert and go back in, and you can plug the thing back in there. So what I want to test, a couple different tests I want to do here. The first one is how long does it take for me to get alerted, right? The water is probably the most crucial thing that I get alerted in real time and immediately, because I need to go in there, I need to figure out what's going on and fix it. So is this going to take 5 minutes? Is this going to take 2 seconds? let's take a look. I've got the dashboard pulled up. We'll see how long it takes to get alert on the dashboard. And then I've got an SMS message that's going to go to my phone. We'll take a look at how long it takes to get to my phone. So let me put my phone up here so I can see it. I've got my stopwatch here, and we're going to go ahead and on the count of 3, dunk this in. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we're going 5 seconds. 5 seconds. We get a dashboard notification. And 10 seconds. Still no text. 11 seconds. 15 seconds. About 14, 15 seconds to get the text alert. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied with that. I think, within 15 seconds, if you get an alert that water hit, I think that's kind of good enough. I was, again, really worried that it was going to take a couple minutes for that to happen. But within 15 seconds, I think is definitely pretty good. Let me move some stuff around. The next test I want to do is putting this thing in a bowl and just kind of sprinkling some water on the top of it just to see at what low of a rate this thing actually can pick up that there's water. Okay, so I just got this little tray here, and I'm just going to sprinkle some water on this cable, and we'll take a look. So first thing, I'm just literally going to dip my fingers in here. Quick sprinkle. And we'll give it 15 seconds to see what happens. If anything kicks off. If not, we'll have to go a little bit more. So we're at 9 seconds, 11 seconds, 12, and we did not get anything, it looks like. Okay, so let's stop that. Restart it. I'm going to go a little bit more this time. There we go. And we'll see if we get anything that time. And 5 seconds, we got a wet. So, I don't know if you guys can see how much is on here. There's really hardly anything. I would say, that's nothing. There's no standing water in this thing. It's just a couple wet drops, and was able to detect it. A super, super tiny light mist from my fingers didn't do it. But once you got like an actual droplet of water on here, it kicked off again within that 5 second range, which perfect. I think that's plenty of time for you to run in there and try to figure out what's going on. So let's go on to the next sensor and play around with that one. So on to the door sensor here. One of the interesting things that I found out with this one is if you are just playing around with it and testing it and you hold the magnetic portions too close to each other, you actually get a tamper warning. You can see here in my dashboard, it's got the yellow light next to data center door. Apparently, you can have these too close together. If you look in the instruction manuals for this, it'll say don't put them closer than 2 millimeters next to each other. So if they're touching, you're going to get a tamper warning like I'm getting right now. So you want them somewhere not farther apart than 2 centimeters, but not really not touching, because you're not going to get under 2 millimeters by doing anything else besides touching them together here. So let's do the same test again. You guys can see that it's closed. Got my stopwatch. Let's take a look at how long it takes for us to get alerted. So on the count of 3, we'll drop it. 1, 2, 3. And showing closed. I've got my phone right here as well. We'll monitor for text messages. We're at 10 seconds. Okay, so about 9-10 seconds, I got the alarm on the dashboard. And around 14-15 seconds, we'll call it, I got the alarm, I got the text message on my phone. So really the same thing. It's probably the same mechanism on how these things work that does the alerting for you. So within 15 seconds, you should be able to get a text, a dashboard notification, or an email if you guys are doing email that way too from this. So guys, that's the sensors. And actually, one more thing on that last test. I didn't even know these came apart, but when I dropped it, they did. So if this happens to you, you want to make sure that you put this back correctly, because the magnetic polarity of this thing could screw up the sensor here. So there's actually a little picture of a magnet on here and some arrows. You're going to want to make sure that those face the magnet picture on this. Put it back in there, click it back together, and then it's one piece. If you don't drop it, you don't have to worry about it. But if you do drop it like I just did and it pops out, that's how you fix it, and that's the way that it goes. So guys, there you have it. That's the real deal on these sensors. I didn't do any pre-work on these things. I did them in real time with you guys here because I just wanted to show you guys what the actual experience was for somebody that's never seen these things before and taking them out of the box. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Again, if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. And if there are any questions, which I'm sure you guys are going to have a lot of questions, post them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. Thanks again for